Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines, and most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen, and I say that every day. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, because I want to put the right information out there from the people who have done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take all that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. We're talking insurance today, you guys. He's essentially my resident insurance everything information guy, because insurance comes up in a lot of conversations, and we're going to talk about that. But yeah, Mickey, like, what is up? He says, good morning, Chris. He's with SPI Logistics, you guys. That's who I have my brokerage through. If you want to become an independent agent, you want to take control of your financial future, you want to run with it and take control and run with your dream, hit up Mike, you guys. Or if you want, talk to me. I'll talk to you guys about everything that they have to offer and how we run our business through them. Flo, good morning to you. Devon McKinney, good morning. Corey Buchan, watching over on YouTube. Happy hump day. Carla Isted, good morning. Watching over on LinkedIn. All right, I got him back on. The man, the myth, the legend, Cam with Valley Trucking. What's up, brother?
Jolly, you are the real one, man. How you doing?
Oh, dude, I don't know, man. I'm trying to figure this out every single day.
Good, aren't we all? And suiting for Veterans Day week with the American flag, man. So my kids are just in school doing choir concerts, bringing photos of my family members that served and doing that in remembrance. And so then my 8-year-old brought home a little book that's all about all the different wars and the sacrifice monuments and all that kind of stuff. So it's super cool to chat with the girls about learning on, people that sacrificed everything for us to do what we do, man. So it's cool. Dude, it's a good week.
It's, honestly, man, it's a great week. And, it's like for stuff like this, I think, like with Veterans Day and everything else, like it should be like an everyday thing, right? Like when it boils down to it, the sacrifices that people make for us to live the lives that we live, right? And if it wasn't for, because it's like growing up, man, again, everybody in my family served in the military up to me. And, I was like, I served, so you didn't have to. Like, eventually it had to stop where we didn't always have to serve, but they're like, don't lose sight of what we fought for. And to me, dude, like, that's why, again, in my opinion, Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, the greatest documents ever written. Personal freedom is everything. I truly feel that way. And you need to embody that, right? And I just think, like, for everything you do in business is because of that stuff. And if you don't exercise your First Amendment right, or any of your rights, you won't be able to have a business. You won't be able to do any of that, because more rules and regulations in government is not the answer ever. I think, like, dude, I was breaking down an article the other day. They want to impose another tax on the drivers. It's like, why do we need more? Like, we got enough taxes out there.
Oh, they're coming. And the more the EV and the go green and all that kind of stuff, it'll just get creative on how the taxes come through and how they're implemented. And oh man, it's wild. But no, I just want to say thank you to veterans, though. I mean, it truly is as you said, it's every single day. It's not just one day. It's not just, so hell yeah, man. How you been though? Dude, I saw you, just real quick. I saw you get a pair of kicks, the black and orange. Were they Air Force ones or what were those?
Freight Coach ones. They're not
Ooh, just see you stomping, dude. Those are so tight.
Technically Air Force ones, but they're Freight Coach ones.
Let's go.
Dude, I got 3 pairs of them, bro. Once I like, here's my thing. I found that you can custom shoes on Nike.com. Well, actually, I didn't. My business partner, Angelo, did. And so we did that. And then I ended up buying more pairs of that. And then I just put it out there into the universe that I'm going to be a sponsored athlete for Nike one day. And
There you
I'm going
go.
to have my own signature shoe line. So it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, dude, I saw them. I'm like, bro, I have to get those. I got to step up my kicks game here.
I love it. Soul Shivers is another one. They'll customize them, like paint
Okay.
them, do them just
Yeah.
awesome. Anyways, I'm just for the listeners, they don't want to listen to insurance, so I'm delaying that as long as possible so your viewership doesn't drop off.
I always have orange too, bro. I always have
I know
orange.
you do.
As you can see
I
on
know
the
you
shoes
do.
and everything, it's color coded, man. It's a
I love
lifestyle.
it. Let's go.
So yeah, dude, we can let's do that, man. Let's talk insurance here. I'm learning a lot. Like I reached out to you the other day about, because I have just, purchased my first vehicle in my business's name, and the difference between a commercial auto policy and a standard auto policy and all of that stuff. And, for me, it's like, it's actually understanding what your policies are, what they cover. And, I was talking to somebody the other day that they had got, a load stolen. It was $160,000 worth of product. And they had falsified documents, and the carrier actually only had 100,000 in insurance. And yeah, so it's like, there's just a lot of stuff out there, man, that I don't think a lot of people think about in those moments. And then on top of that too, man, like I want to ask you this. What if you're moving a shipment for a customer? They tell you it's $100,000 up front. Then something happens and it's like $170,000. Who's liable in that situation?
I mean, loaded question too, and it's so like there's so many if thens, and it depends on any claim scenario, and a lot of that's going to come, or all of it's going to come down to like the contract and bill of lading on what is the stated amount of coverage that's required there and the value. And then that goes back to, I know you and I have talked about it before, for the carriers to understand, and actually the brokers and whoever, to understand the actual value of what you're hauling, right? So like you don't just pick up loads that you know nothing about. Could be purses, could be beverages, could be whatever, because the cost of goods has gone up. And I think the standard $100,000 cargo limit has been around for 30 plus years. So more and more, my carriers, we dive into what they're actually hauling, and then like use common sense to say, hey, this is probably what the load could be valued at. And it doesn't cost much more to go to 200,000, 250,000. I've got specialty guys, obviously they need up to $1 million in limits or whatever the case may be, or maybe a one-off situation. But it's just being educated, just using, just understanding what you're hauling.
Yeah, dude. And that's, I always think like it's always about asking questions, ask all these questions on the front end, and then furthermore, read your contract, right? How many exclusions do you see in there from shipper contracts that essentially removes them from all liability as soon as that freight is on their truck, right? Or I mean, essentially getting loaded. I've seen some crazy stuff out there, man. And again, I don't view insurance as an expense. I truly don't, because I look at it in the event of what is it going to cost you if you don't have it, and then if you're not asking those questions, right? And then another thing, your bond is not an insurance policy, you guys. I want to put that out there. Your surety bond is not an insurance policy from a cargo perspective. It's a policy that people file against it if you don't pay them. Okay. It's not, it has nothing to do with cargo or damage or anything like that.
Which it's not enough, by the way. The 75K goes quick, and by the time you get there, there's no money left most of the time. I mean, it's kind of a joke, to be honest. It really needs to be increased up quite a bit.
Yeah, dude. Because I was just talking. I had my friends from Denim on. I want to say it's been like 2 weeks now after one brokerage went out of business, and I'm like, how do you get your money right? Like, what do you do in that situation? Because filing on somebody's bond is going to go quick, right? Like, what are some assurances you can take and everything? So we walked through that. Shout out to Denim for jumping on last minute and helping out the viewers on that topic. But I think Steven Title, he says, insurance is my favorite topic. One thing's for certain, years of no claims, but each year your rate doubles. LOL.
That's a complex topic in and of itself. We could have a whole session and talk about how tsunamis and stuff on the other side of the world cause your rates to go up, even though you didn't do anything. And most people are seeing it from a consumer standpoint, your home, your auto rates, all that kind of stuff. I haven't had any claims, but insurance companies buy insurance called reinsurance. Reinsurance rates have to be secured. And if those go up, there's a bunch of factors. Anyways, it's not fun because it's like, I've been good. My rate should go down. Like that's what people think, but not always. It does go down. I have a lot of clients that the rate goes down, but not everybody, not all the time.
Do you think there's a lot of people out there that are misinsured, Cam?
Yeah,
Like they have the
100%.
wrong policies out there that
100%. Well, shit, just talked to her. Shout out to Drew Singleton on COI
Yeah.
compliance. I mean, I talked to that dude and he tells me horror stories about what he sees. And I see it every single day when I get copies of policies. And one thing too, like I've helped a lot of clients and actually helped a lot of folks, not even clients, because if they're in a good spot, they have a great relationship. Let's say their policy is solid. It's like, I'm not going to just write you or try to earn your business to make money. I'm fortunate and blessed to be where I'm at, but I'll give them feedback and help them. Or I'll say, look, you're solid. The policy is great. The coverages are good. Your pricing's competitive. You have a good relationship with who you like. You trust them. Sit tight. Like there's nothing I can do to help you in that scenario. Two things to talk about though. Insurance, obviously, that's how like I operate, and that's my world. But the other two things is insurance on due diligence, using the tools available to you, following up. When somebody falsifies documents, all you had to do is check the certificate with the insurance agent, right? Get an updated certificate. That would have solved that whole thing. The insurance agent is not going to issue it wrong. And if they do, that's a whole different set of problems, but now they're getting hooked into it. The other one is the contract. The contract is what you got to live by. And that's your biggest insurance policy, is that contract has to be ironclad, done by a professional, not Google or Chat GPT or whatever people are trying to do to save a buck. And, those are the biggest things I'd recommend on that, man.
Yeah, I just think that, because there's just so much with insurance. I don't want to call it misinformation or anything like that, but I just think that there's such a lack of fundamental basic insurance information out there for people to really like look into, right? Without having to reach out to somebody. And again, like this is why me and you initially bonded, was on this stuff, and why you come back so we can talk about this and put out as much information on cargo insurance and liability and everything else, and like what this stuff actually means. And because the last time you were on, man, you were talking about how, oh yeah, people can find you cheaper rates, but there's a laundry list of exclusions of commodities you cannot haul. And how many times are you hauling that and you're not even aware that that's on your exclusion list? And then guess what? Your insurance, they're going to deny the claim because this was on your exclusion list, even though nobody told you. And again, like there always has to be that personal responsibility, right? At the end of the day, you're the one who's signing that document. But this is why, like, you guys need to talk to your insurance agents, have them walk through your certificate, any exclusions. What does my stuff actually cover? Because again, they're going to tell you that. They're literally going to say, well, that was an excluded commodity. Why did you haul it? This is your fault.
Yep. Yeah. And I can't blame them either, though. I mean, I don't like reading insurance policies. I've read so many insurance policies and your eyes go cross-eyed. You got to remember, they are contracts written by attorneys. Who likes speaking legalese, right? I know, you know what I mean? It's like nobody likes to read that stuff. So I don't blame the average business owner and entrepreneur, because dude, how busy are you? How many hats are you wearing? What are you trying to do? You're worried about putting food on the table to feed your family or provide for your employees, or like provide this service that you do. And like, that's what you love. You don't love reading contract language. You don't love buying an insurance policy, trusting that you're buying the right thing. And you're just conditioned to say, you know what, save 15% and 50, whatever. So you're just kind of clicking stuff, getting quotes from online or wherever. And you're like, oh, okay, that's a good price. And it looks the same. It all looks the same on paper. They look identical, but the reality is they're not, right? That's the problem. And so when people aren't covered, and like you had mentioned, do they have coverages there, incorrect coverages there all the time. It's just because they just don't understand. And good insurance isn't cheap, just like a tattoo, right? You're not going to go get a cheap tattoo. So
Depends on your frame of mind.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. In prison or whatever, you get your own pen and start tatting yourself up. Sure.
Oh man,
That's like
so
buying insurance online on your own. Just get your own tattoo pen and give yourself a tattoo. It's same idea.
uh Steven says, as soon as you say you had added commodity and moving, a lot of it suddenly appears on your exclusion list. Solar panels, not on an exclusion list last year. Now, because we move more of them, we have to buy extra endorsements. So funny how that works. So that's a great question. How do you get additional endorsements on stuff? How do you add those into your policies? If you know what, you just landed a new contract of solar panels for my man Papa Freight, here's example. It was on the exclusion list. How do you get it off of your exclusion list?
Well, and for his per his comment, it probably was not on the exclusion list. He started hauling it. Obviously, that became trendy, and solar panels aren't new, but there must be a push for them. I know there is a push for them. There must have been claims or litigate. Something happened for the insurance companies to say, you know what, this is more of a risk than we want to take for whatever reason. And I don't know the losses on this specific example.
Yeah.
So then they're going to come back and say it's either an endorsement, or some companies will say, you know what, we're not going to do this at all. You should get notification on that, but then at your renewal, it'll come through and it'll list like changes to your policy, which is what he's referring to now, is like, now you can buy back this endorsement for certain coverages. I recommend you reach out ahead of time. Don't land a contract, then go to the insurance, because you might come back and be like, holy shit, my insurance just tripled for me to do this, and now it's not worth it anymore for me to do this. So I think open communication, I really try to work with my clients on just, you got to tell me what you're doing, good, bad, the ugly. I don't care what you're doing, but if I don't know, I can't help you. Right. Because they think of me as like, they're just going to do it and kind of ask forgiveness later. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that in insurance, and you can't plead ignorance with that, man. You just can't. So
no, I get it, man. What is there some form of notification process that has to be there? If your insurance provider is putting a commodity on an exclusion list where you have to buy additional insurance for, is there some form of time frame where they have to notify you of this? They have to give you a grace period per se to get that in line.
it's not going to happen in the middle of the contract. So each policy term, so let's just say January 1 to January 1 is a contract, right? That thing's locked in. It's not going to change unless you do something to violate it and egregious where you like, well, non-pay is the biggest one of why you'd get canceled. But there are circumstances where they can come in and say, you know what, you've not held up your end, we're going to cancel this now. But you're locked in for that period of time. Coming into renewal is when you would get any notification and conversations surrounding that. Hey, there was and usually it's the agent knows, or the agency will know, hey, this is a big change in the policy form, good or bad. But then it should be on them to educate you on that and then come up with additional or alternate options. They might not be better price, but at least it'll cover you. Right. So then you got to weigh that out. Like, hey, is me paying a few $100s more a month worth it for that peace of mind to know this is covered, or can I afford to come out of pocket? I'm guessing solar panels are expensive for a load of them. Am I willing to come out of pocket and cover that? Right.
Yeah.
And the shitty thing for freight brokerage is it's not required to carry insurance. I mean, it's wild to me that, and it's funny because as long as your contract's good, everything's good, the chain of command, bill of lading, all that stuff checks out. Most of the time, a claim's not coming back on the freight brokerage. It's really not. It's pretty slim that it's going to come back to them. Even if it has to file there, it gets kicked down line essentially to who's responsible. So once the carrier gets care, custody, and control, they're now responsible for it, depending on the circumstance. A lot of times their policy is going to get subrogated against or take care of it. It's unlikely it hits your end, but you have insurance just in case. The big one I've seen where most people opt to not buy because it is expensive is the auto liability. So the contingent or the hired and non-owned auto liability from a freight brokerage exposure is if that carrier goes out, plows into a line of four-wheelers or something like that, you're going to get named in that lawsuit regardless. Like there's just way too much money, way too much attorneys involved. you're a bucket of money for them to come after to try to make the family whole again, or whatever the case is. You're getting named in that. And that's where it could come back. And if you don't have those coverages, you don't have defense cost and even if you're not responsible, you still have to go to court and fight it. So
yeah, dude, and that's the thing, right? Like I don't want to comment on any specific case because there's some of them out there where, you know, I am of the belief that if you are a freight broker, you should have insurance. You should be required to carry insurance. I truly feel that way. Just like, you know, that's my same thing with any dispatch service that's out there. I think you should have some skin in the game too. You should have to register with the FMCSA. You should have to have a DOT number. I truly feel like you should have to carry cargo insurance as well, because my biggest thing is I'm not going to say ban dispatch services or anything like that, but my big thing is you should never be able to walk away from something because you're like, oh, I'm not part of this, right? Like if you were part of that transaction of any sort, you're going to get pulled into it. And then you can't say, oh, that wasn't my responsibility or I'm not required by that, right? I truly feel like everybody should have insurance, because if the driver's required to have it, the shipper's going to be required to have insurance of some sort, right? Like they're not just out there not insuring their product. I think everybody should kind of have that on their P&L. I truly do. And if you're a broker listening to this who disagrees with it, that's fine. You can disagree with it, but I truly feel like you should carry it, because the reality is, man, every shipper of substance I've ever dealt with, what do they require? Hey, send me your insurance
certificate. Yeah.
yeah, send me your COI, because you're right, bro. It's only a matter of time before your ass is named in a fucking lawsuit in the unfortunate event that something happens. If the driver gets killed or kills somebody or whatever that looks like, or heavily damages and cause whatever damages to people or property, you will get named in that. You
100%.
will.
Well, and the cargo is the least expensive ticket item in the claim, right?
Yeah.
Cargo's finite. It's worth 100K, 150K, whatever it's worth. That's it. And you can negotiate that down typically, like, hey, cost of goods really wasn't 100, can we work on this? And like, we'll work out a deal. But I get that quite a bit. I mean, I've talked to a few folks, and they're going through a claim scenario, double broker, whatever happens. I don't know. There's a bunch of things that happen, but they don't have any insurance at all. And then they're like, hey, can we get insurance now? And it's like, sure. But then the cost comes back and it's, anywhere from 5, 6, 7, 8 grand, 10 grand, whatever the cost is for the year to get proper insurance, like all the different coverages, E&O, GL,
Hypothetical
auto liability or contingent auto liability, contingent cargo. There's additional things, whether or not it depends on what you're doing, will determine what coverages you should get, or at least look at and consider. And then it becomes too expensive for them to do, because now they're paying $60K for this cargo claim. They're trying to negotiate with the shipper and pay this out to keep that relationship good so they don't lose that. And then they're looking for recourse. And then on top of that, now they got to go have another expensive insurance. So it's better to do it out the gate. You project low revenue, your cost is going to be down, and it's going to be in relation to the revenue. As the revenue goes up, you pay more insurance. It's how it works. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So you can project low, have a killer year. Just make sure you're auditing and reporting your revenues to the agent. Hey, we're going to do 5 times as much as I projected. Can we do this throughout the year so I don't have a big bill at the end of the year? Because they will audit you. You will have to pay additional insurance, and you don't want that bill at the end of the year as a surprise. So.
Yeah. No, I feel you there, man. I truly do. I think that there's a lot of individuals out there that, again, if you're going to be a business owner, or if you're going to do anything, like you need to have the right insurance. You need to have in-depth conversations with your insurance provider and everything else, because like, it's only a matter of time, right? Like I've seen it time and time again. I've broke down numerous articles, like, for fuck's sakes, Warner's getting sued for $100 million they were on the opposite side of the freeway and the driver lost control and came across the fucking center and hit the Warner truck. They're getting sued for $100 million. Now, I don't want anybody to get hurt, you guys. I don't, but this is the real world and bad shit happens. Okay. But why is Warner even being named in that lawsuit is what fucking boggles my mind, right?
One word,
Oh,
attorneys.
I know.
I mean,
It's cold, it's green, and it comes out of the bank. I get that, but I'm like, I'm using that example, Cam, because it's only a matter of time before that's your business that's pulled into it. Because if they're like, oh, well, hold on, the trucking company can't pay for it. Who owned the freight that was in the trailer? Hold on, let's sue them. Oh, wait, there's a broker that was involved. Let's sue the broker. They're gonna find you eventually.
Who owns the trailer? I mean, all kinds of stuff. People I've dealt with so many crazy claims in that it's pretty wild. And you know what? Insurance is one of those things that you pay for, you hate paying for it. You hope you never have to use it. But then when you do, and you're like, for a common example, your house burns down and they rebuild your house and put you up in a rental home until they rebuild your house, then you're like, oh, I actually value insurance now. Sweet.
Yeah.
It's not for little shit either. People think that, hey, my computer, whatever XYZ happened. If it's small ticket items, I really encourage you to consider out of pocket. Is this something that I should consider covering myself, negotiating out, or go to insurance, right? You shouldn't file every single claim. You need a threshold where you handle a certain level of responsibility within your organization. And then once it exceeds, it's really for that big ticket thing. You know
No,
what I mean?
I'm right there with you, man. And that's the whole thing, right? Like I have everything insured inside of my office, all of the equipment, camera, computers, audio interfaces, microphones. I have everything insured because of what you said, man. In the event that something happens, insurance and attorneys are my two least favorite things to pay for, but I love having them in my corner when I need them, right? And I jokingly say that I love my attorneys. I truly do. They're great. Just like I love having insurance because of what you said, man. Like real shit happens, and like, do you have the capital? Listen, unless you have the capital to pay for shit out of pocket, turn off the fucking episode right now. But I don't know too many people that are walking around with 7 figures just in an insurance claim fund in the event that something happens.
No, they're not. One thing too, I just want to plug real quick because most people neglect to think about this, or they're so focused on the business, is like a business succession planning or like life insurance, right? Like if something happens to you, what happens to your family, right? Can they afford to carry on without you, pay the bills? Can they afford to pay off the house and not have this stress of figuring out how to make ends meet? Also, do you have a written plan on what to execute and what to do in the event that something happens to you with your business? Do you have a friend that you could sell the business to and help come in and step in the interim to help you or help the surviving spouse and family operate? Like those are things that people don't think about, but I really encourage for annual planning's sake. And like if you don't have that built into a plan, probably look at that. There's a lot of tools, a lot of resources. Life insurance is not that expensive. You can get a 10-year, 15-year, $1 million, $500,000 for pretty cheap. So like these are all things that like I talk to my clients about. And it's not that I'm trying to upsell or cross sell or anything. I don't care. But in the morning when I wake up, I want to know my clients are at least educated enough to say, you know what, you're right. I should have life insurance. Like make it my job to ask you about if having it. Don't make it my job to tell your family you didn't have it type scenario. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. Like we're actually doing that. Speaking of life insurance, I got to fill out the fucking 20-minute questionnaire here on our, we're getting all that locked in. And dude, it all things considered, it's not that expensive. I don't take this as anything other than a guy who went to public school. But that's a motivator to get your health in order too, right? Because that drastically can change the price of a life insurance policy.
Don't wait though. Don't let that deter you from doing it. It's part of a financial plan. You can buy a new life policy later. But make sure you're insurable. Because here's the thing: you don't know what happens. Disease happens, things happen, and then you might not be able to get life insurance if you wait. So
and my personal opinion, you guys, this is my personal opinion. Go for the $1 million policy every time. Because if you look at the actual price breakdown, it's pennies on the dollar, like literally. But the difference between a $250K payout and $1 million payout, if I kick the bucket, is my wife's ability to pay off our house, stay in our home, have a couple $100,000 in the bank left over to navigate through that challenging time in the event something does happen to me, right? And it's like, again, you'll be dead, so you're like, why would I care? But I don't want to put my family in a financial strain in the event something were to happen, all because I wanted to save $20 a month for for the short term, right? So it's like, and that's really what it boils down to with insurance, you guys. Talk to your agents, look at your policies, find out what kind of coverages you have, because it might just be pennies on the dollar to increase your coverages. And that might open a whole new revenue stream of freight you can start hauling where it completely offsets the increase in your policy and everything. And we're at 30 minutes, Cam, as always, man. These just fly by, brother. I always appreciate you coming on and just speaking some truth out there in the insurance world. How can anybody reach out to you, man? Find out more about what you're doing.
LinkedIn, I feel like, has been the most popular platform as of late. And so I think just reach out through LinkedIn, message. I'm happy to get in touch, or you can shoot an email, Cameron@valleytruckinginsurance.com, and then we can connect from there. And I'm happy to give advice, happy to help. Like I said, I'm not trying to sell everybody or anything like that. And I can't help everybody, quite frankly. So I let them know if not, and I'll try to connect them with someone that I know that can, or at least just give them some guidance and feedback and advice any way I can. So
for sure. And as always, you guys, if you guys can't find him for some reason, DM me. I'll put you in contact with Cam. We'll make it all right. But that's going to be it for today, you guys. We'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. As always, if you guys got value in what you heard today, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there to your network. That's how we're number one. That's how we're going to continue to grow and help more people, is because if you see value, your network will see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.